Hey guys, so I'm super excited today because I just rented this brand new 2020 Corvette C8 off of Turo. The host gave me an amazing deal on the car. It was too good not to do. I actually got a chance to rent this for $199 per day, which is just, it's mind-blowing. And the car only has 1,300 miles on it. I think I'm the third renter to rent this off the platform, so I'm really excited. Now, for those of you that don't know, I've been a huge Corvette fan for the last 5 to 6 years. I've probably owned about 5 to 6 of them over the course of the years, and I have a C7 just like this one, but it is out on a rental today, so I borrowed this beautiful 2018 C7 from a friend, and it just happens to have the same color combo as the C8. So the thing that I want to do in this video is share with you guys what my experience has been over the years with the C7 and what my driving experience has been with the C8. Now, they are very different cars. GM did a huge upgrade on the C8. I think it's an entirely different class than what the C7 has been. But the C7 has also been my daily driver for so many years. And that is the beautiful thing about these Corvettes, is that they are so comfortable to drive. There is just so much value in them for what you get for the money that, I mean, it's hard to convince yourself not to get one. And so that's kind of where I'm finding myself right now, is I'm asking myself the question, do I buy a first generation C8? Do I get a 2020? Do I wait till 2021? Or do I just stick with the C7s that have been proven over so many years? So I would love to get your guys' feedback on that question by the end of this video. But let's go take a look at both of these gorgeous Corvettes. Okay guys, so here I am in the 2018 C7, and one of the things that you'll notice when I show you the C8 is that the C7 is incredibly simplistic in its design. It doesn't have too many bells and whistles. It's not very complicated in terms of the dials and the settings and the things that it has. It's so straightforward. So if you look right here, you have your mode select, your parking brake, your cup holders, which by the way, I happen to think that this is the worst cup holder that I've ever seen in any car. It's basically non-functional. It's just a little compartment that doesn't really hold your drink. So definitely don't put an open cup of coffee in here, because that is not going to go well. I've spilled so much stuff because these cup holders are awful. But aside from that, I don't really have any other complaints about this car. You can see just from the seat designs, it's super simple. I don't consider these to be the most comfortable seats in the world, but they're basic, they're easy, you know, they're fine for daily driving. I've never experienced an issue. Now, I know some people think that this car is hard to get in and out of, but for me it's been okay. If you're taller, I could see that maybe it's a little bit harder, but in terms of space for your legs and stuff, you have plenty of room. I have always found this car to be really comfortable to drive on a daily basis. It's so smooth. These C7s are so proven, especially this is a 2018, so it's been around for so many years now that I've just never really ran into very many problems with these cars. And they've just been great. You know, they've been around so long that they're just proven, and you just can't go wrong with that. And what's interesting is that I was recently looking at Auto Tempest because I wanted to see if there were any seats that were available for purchase. And then I also noticed as I was kind of browsing around that the C7s were still pretty up there in price for the newer models, which I was actually really surprised, because I thought with the C8s that are coming out now that the price would have dropped. So my takeaway on these C7s, after having almost half a dozen of them over the years, is that they're phenomenal cars, especially for the price. The value that you get, the perceived value that you get with the design of these cars, they're gorgeous, right? They don't give you that many problems. And what I love about Corvette is that at the end of the day, even when you do need to get maintenance done or service done, you're still going to a Chevy dealership, and that makes a big difference versus, you know, a car like a Porsche. You're going to a Porsche dealership where you are going to pay premiums on that Porsche. That's another beautiful thing about these Corvettes. So I'm going to fire up this C7 so you guys can hear what this engine sounds like. This is a 1LT, so it's a super base model with not too many options on it, and then I'll fire up the C8 for you guys. So let's take a look. So it's okay. It's not a super beast, but I'm gonna drop it into sports mode and give it a rev so you guys can hear how that sounds as well. So whenever I hear the C7 or I rev it, I mean, to me, it doesn't feel like there's really like a monster living in this car. However, when I do turn that C8 on for you guys, I think you will notice just a little bit of a difference. So let's go check out the C8. Okay guys, so now let's take a look at the C8, and my Corvette just came back from a rental, so I have a little Corvette family going on here. Came back a little bit sooner than expected, but the biggest change about these C8s is this gorgeous mid-engine, which is the first time GM has ever done anything of the sort. And this car just looks so much more like a supercar than the sort of classic Stingrays do. So now let's get inside of the C8, and I just love these doors. The handle is actually right in here, pops right open, beautiful entrance into the car, and a nice little welcome beep. And let's take a look how gorgeous this interior is, and you can already see how different the seats are from the C7. So if you take a look here, big difference. So let's once again pan over the C7 interior and look at the comparison to the C8. So they did make some major changes here, and then in a second I will show you guys that gorgeous mid-engine that sits in the back. But let's take a look at the inside. So let me hop right on in, and just like most Corvettes, it does sit low to the ground. So now another major difference on these C8s, let me adjust my brightness here, is that they don't have a perfectly round steering wheel. Now this is such a gorgeous steering wheel. It's definitely far more sporty. You're welcome with this really nice graphic of the C8. I mean, oh, I'm in love. Now it has all of its controls right here on this panel. It has a really nice touch screen, which is a huge upgrade from the C7s, because the C7s I always felt like was like early 2000s, the way that their digital display was. And then another major difference from the C7 is that they have these buttons right here to actually control the car. You have park and neutral, which you press, and then reverse and drive, which you lift. So definitely a big difference. And so I'm just gonna turn the power onto the car so you guys can take a look at the displays here. So let's just see here while it powers up. Let's see. Oh, well, the key's not in here, so just a second. Just kidding, the key was in here, but I guess it says key is on sleep mode. Move key, then start. So I think that they just want to know that you have the key and that you are intending to start the car. By the way, the key is also very different from the C7, so they totally redesigned this as well. So let's get some displays going here so that we can take a look. It has just come a complete 180 from the C7. And like I said, this car barely has 1,300 miles on it when I picked it up. I mean, I love it. The windshield alone right here is far more larger, at least in appearance, than it is on the C7. And of course, I love the holidays, so I had Christmas music playing. And then another thing that's very interesting about these C7s are these side mirrors. Now, a fun fact about these C8s, pardon me, I said C7 earlier, is that these side mirrors are actually of different lengths. So the arms that you see right there on the driver's side, it's shorter than it is on the passenger side, and that is noticeably different. All right, so now I've been really fortunate enough to get to drive this C8 around all day, and my first thing that popped into my head was how comfortable this car is to drive. I mean, it is so incredibly smooth. My big problem with the C7 has always been visibility, and it looks like that's what they fixed with these side mirrors. You have full visibility on both sides, whereas the C7, I found that the mirrors were much more like lower profile, and you just couldn't see as much as you would need to when driving these cars, especially because they're lower to the ground. Just with how the body profile is, you need that additional visibility. So the C8, right away, I felt so comfortable driving this car because I had that visibility. The acceleration was phenomenal. I mean, you just tap on the gas and the car definitely goes. And another thing that I noticed right away on the C8, this particular one, at least that I'm driving, was that there were some interesting rattles that I could hear, kind of a little bit of a fluttering coming from the back of the car, some rattles coming from the doors, which is, I think, pretty normal with these Corvettes. Now, in my C7, I had the same issues. There would be some random rattles coming from the doors and from here and there, and I think it just kind of goes with the territory of these Corvettes. Now, this being the first production year of this car, I won't be surprised if these cars have all kinds of issues that pop up, because it comes with the nature of it being in the early years of a new design, and particularly with this car being such a major design change with the mid-engine that they now have versus the C7. So I don't know, I have nothing bad to say about this car. It is just a dream to drive. I can 100% see this car being a daily driver, just as my C7 was, but this experience is better because it feels like you're in a supercar for sure. I have friends with McLarens and, you know, the brand new Lambo Huracan and Ferrari 488s. Like, I've seen all of these cars, and of course those cars are top-notch, high-end. I mean, they're as high-end as you can get, but these C8s, for the price that you can get them at, for the way that they accelerate, the way that they drive, how smooth they are, I mean, it's unbelievable that Chevy offers such an amazing car for such an amazing value. So I'm really, really happy about it. I just want to show you guys more. So let's go take a look at the mid-engine. All right, so let me give you guys actually a full walkthrough. Now, kind of cool is that because this car is a mid-engine, there is a front trunk which has a little release right over here somewhere. There it is. All right, and it just pops right open. And one of the things I mentioned just earlier was that this windshield seems to be a bit larger than the C7, and you can really notice it when you're sitting inside of the car. And it is really angled, which is nice because hopefully that'll prevent some cracks. But here is the trunk in the front, actually a pretty decent size. It's like big enough to where I think I could actually sit in this trunk. So that's a pretty good size for it being a front trunk. Now let me take you guys to the back, but while I do that, let's look at this gorgeous side profile of the C8. Here's a sort of an aerial view of the interior, and let's make our way to the back. Now, my least favorite part of this car personally is the back of this car. I feel like it looks a little similar to the Camaros, and I wish they would have just done something to make this a little bit more supercar-ish. And for comparison purposes, that is what the C7 looks like. However, as you make your way to sort of the top of the car, I mean, the body lines are just beautiful. Look at those curves that this car has, and the back is actually quite wide. And if we kind of peer into the window that displays the mid-engine, I mean, it is so pretty. So let's pop this trunk open and let's take a look at the inside. Now, here is the trunk partition, which I think is also protected so it doesn't get too hot. And it is a really big trunk. You can definitely fit a couple of pieces of luggage back here. And this is also where the Targa top sits. Same thing as the C7. But the most beautiful part of this is a look inside of the engine compartment, which is beautiful. So let me give you guys a little bit of a close-up look here. And there is sort of what looks like plexiglass or some kind of a glass partition. I haven't actually touched it, so I don't know what the material is, but it separates the area where you sit. I totally spacing out on what that's called from the engine bay. Now here's something interesting. I drove this car prior to it coming into the garage about 15 miles, and that was maybe 2 hours ago. And this engine is still so hot. When I first pulled into the car, I could into the garage, I could still hear the engine kind of crackling after I had powered off the car. And as soon as I opened the trunk, it was just a huge wave of hot air, and this engine was super, super hot. So now, because I am not any sort of car expert, I don't know if the engine is getting that hot because it's still such a new car. It only has about 1,300 miles in it, and maybe it's still in that break-in period. I don't know, but it was abnormally hot. I mean, I'm very used to my C7s. I know if they're running hot. I've seen the different temperatures on it, and it has not been this hot. And the fact that I just opened this trunk now after a couple of hours and it's still so hot, I don't know if it's a ventilation issue because this compartment is closed or what it might be, but it is oddly very, very warm. So you guys, that is a look inside of this C8 and the C7, and I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of a visual comparison and share my experience with you guys. Both cars, phenomenal daily drivers. I think that if you want to own a sports car at a great price, something that is affordable, you cannot go wrong with either one of these. But if you're looking for a little bit more oomph, a little bit more pizzazz, something that is more supercar-ish, then the C8 is definitely the way to go. A 1LT starts at around $60,000, and then they go up from there. Especially if you're placing an order, you can get these cars at sticker. Now, I was at my local Chevy dealership recently and I saw that they had a C8 on the lot, and they told me that they're not selling any C8s that end up on the lot anything lower than $25K over sticker, which is crazy. I don't think that I would buy a C8 over sticker. I'm not so sure that that's worth it over the long run, but because these cars are so rare right now and the demand is really hot, they are getting that sticker. So I don't know, do I buy a C8? Do I move on from the C7s and make my way into the world of the C8s? Or do I hang on to the C7s for a little while longer and wait till these C8s are proven and all the problems are worked out? So that's kind of the question that I'm asking myself right now, and I would love to hear from you guys. Now, before I let you guys go, I have to do one important thing, and that is to fire up the C8 so you guys can hear what a bad boy this sounds like. So let's go take a look. All right, so let's power her up. I mean, this car just screams when you turn it on. It's crazy. Now, of course, this is not my car. It's still a new car, so I'm not gonna rev it too much, but I'm just gonna give it a little bit of gas just so you guys can get a little bit of a listen. But if you were here right now, I mean, it sounds so mean. So let's give it a listen. Amazing. Amazing. It purrs like a supercar. GM, you've done a great job on the C8. I give you a thumbs up.